What's going on, everybody? This is the Microsoft recap, and this is your host, Michael Baker. And I got my man with me, what is it, Mike Bennett? I'm about to call you Mike Baker.
I mean, we're definitely not the same person, but we have
I
similar.
got like four Mikes in my family, and we all named Mike Baker. So it's a crazy
Oh
scenario.
wow!
I mean, my uncle, my cousin, and his son. I
I,
mean,
I actually was a part of a Facebook group back in the day called "The Wonderful World of Michael Bennett." So it was like 500 of us.
yeah. I mean, that's the Michael name, man. Matter of fact, bro, I'm gonna tell you this offline. I'm gonna tell you this one offline. But I did email somebody that had your exact name. The wrong person, but he emailed me back like, "Yo, I think you meant to send this to somebody else." I was like, "Yo, thanks, bro."
This is Mike Bennett, number 56.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But, yeah, what's going on, everybody? This is, the Microsoft recap, and as always, it's your host. Today we're gonna be talking about a couple of topics with Microsoft. First topic we're gonna be talking about is Microsoft's tracking prevention that Google is gonna be hit the hardest with their new web browser. Um, if you don't know already, in the next, I think January, they're actually gonna come out with it. Um, Microsoft Edge is changing up. If you all remember Microsoft Internet Explorer, most people just remember Internet Explorer. Like even now, when they click on Edge, they just think it's Internet Explorer. They don't know the difference, and if they do know the difference, they decided to move over to Chrome. Um, but like, I mean, that's the
Facts, yeah, yeah.
it got to the point where Microsoft basically has decided to revamp their Microsoft Edge browser, and they are cloning. They're taking a clone of Google Chrome, what they call Chromium in the open source world. So Chrome is a there's Chrome, there's Microsoft Chrome, there's Google Chrome, and then there's Google Chromium, which is like stripped down white label Chrome that anybody can take and create their own version of the web browser with. And Microsoft, and because Chrome has gotten so popular and so capable, Microsoft just went ahead and decided that they're going to make their new version of the Edge browser out of Chrome. So essentially, Edge is a version of Chrome.
Yeah, so it's Microsoft Chrome.
Yeah, it's basically Microsoft Chrome. It's basically Microsoft Chrome. They just rebranding it, calling it Edge, and they can, because it's open source, they can modify it the way that they want to appeal to them. But nonetheless, it's still under the hood, basically Chrome. And with that, because it's Chrome, they have all these functionalities and features that they can build in. And one of the features that they're building in is privacy features, being able to hide tracking so that websites can't necessarily track you from site to site. They can probably track you from when you're on that site, but not once you leave that site and go to all these other sites and bounce around. I work in the web field, so tracking is definitely a big issue with us, and being able to deal with um, monitoring activity on our various clients' websites. But in general, when you go to a website, like if you go to Facebook, if you anybody uses Facebook, if you already know this, like if you usually you'll have like 10, 20 tabs open, and one of those tabs will be Chrome, will be Facebook in one of those tabs. If you're signed into Facebook on one of those tabs, or even if you close Facebook without signing out, if you didn't sign out of Facebook, it still will leave the tracking open. And when you start searching on all these other sites, if you see like one icon that comes from Facebook, if you see like the like icon that literally comes from Facebook, then more than likely you're being tracked.
Right.
They're tracking what site you're reading, what site you're going to, so that they can pull that information back into Facebook to better sell you ads. And the same thing is really happening with Google. If you
Even more with Google, because Google, they have a
even
lot more. I think they hit on a lot more of the market share for just online advertising than I think than
Yeah, I
Facebook.
mean, basically, what is it? Google has, I want to say, Google has 30 to 40% of the advertising business, but it's also like 80% of their business. So, most of the money that Google makes off of anything is basically an advertisement, and being able to track people and monitor people. And I mean, part of that is the advertisement business. Like, in order for in order for like news organizations and whatnot to be able to make money, they have to be able to place advertisements on their website. And Google was one of the first companies and one of the best companies to do it. They actually bought out one of the best companies, which was like DoubleClick, but they basically um, offer advertisement systems for people, for organizations to be able to have like news sites. So example would be like The Verge or ZDNet, like this article that we're on. They have a Verizon advertisement on their page. More than likely, that Verizon advertisement, even though it is Verizon, it's coming from like a Google server. That and Google is tracking who the person is and how they actually search so that they know what type of advertisement to give to that person on somebody else's website. And with Microsoft Edge and their
Microsoft.
new
Well,
browser,
I say if Microsoft Chrome, I mean Microsoft Edge.
yeah, with Microsoft Chrome, they basically are shutting people out with that feature. They're going to make it so that if you're on a site, you're restricted on that site. It's a functional piece of code and website when you're building sites where you can actually restrict outside sources. So if something didn't come from that website that you're on, if it didn't come from that site, then it's not allowed to be able to do anything on that site. And they're building that into the browsers, and that basically eats at companies like Google and Facebook, because those two companies, and even Amazon, because Amazon makes a lot of money off of advertising because their whole business is retail, and they're jumping into the advertising business more. But like if you're going to be using Microsoft Chrome or Microsoft Edge, um, they'll basically be able to lock it down. They have like three different styles of doing it. It was like a balanced version, a light version, and then a real strict version, where you'll be able to lock it down so that people can't track you.
So nothing can. Yeah, it's just you browsing, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, and no ads will be able to, like, even if the ads are able to come through, they can't really identify who you are from anybody else because it's restricted to you searching on that site. It's like a double-edged sword. So it could potentially be good for ZDNet, for like companies like ZDNet or The
Mhm.
Verge, because they'll have to take advertisement back into their own hands a little bit more, which means that they'll have to do a little bit more work, but they still get a little bit more benefit in the long run. And it takes the power out of companies' hands like Facebook and Google. I keep saying Facebook number one because I just feel like I don't know, I got my thing against them. But Google as well, like they will definitely make it harder for them to actually make that type of money because they're not ZDNet. They're
Right.
affiliate of ZDNet providing you advertisements.
And then with Facebook, see, with a lot of these, with the platforms, Facebook and Google, they thrive. They're advertising why they're able to make so much. Is like you were pointing out here, is they're able to target and know exactly, not just like pinpointing where people are, but then being able to um, like understand what their interests are. Right.
Yeah,
That's what makes the advertising so effective. And
that's what
like
makes
I
it
said,
stick.
yeah, exactly. That's what makes, because they're able to speak to that person's heart. They're able to speak that person's language.
Mhm,
So when you're introducing something like Microsoft, the new version of Microsoft Edge, it makes you like wonder if people start. Everyone to some degree finds advertising irritable. Right? It's
mhm.
something that most of the times, like you really don't like it. Sometimes you do, when it's a really good ad, right? I mean, I just goes to show that somebody's doing something right when it comes to advertisement. But most of the time, you don't really like to get ads. So,
Yeah,
so the thing
there
is,
was an ad. There was a whole market going on earlier the other day. My bad. I don't mean to interrupt, but there
no,
was something
you
going on earlier the other day. I don't know. I posted it on social media. There was this ad. What was this whole market? It was a marketing campaign. It had nothing to do with advertisement in itself, but I mean, in itself, being a good marketing campaign is going to basically do the advertising job. Where what was it? Netflix had posted out something on Twitter talking about what can you say as a brand? What can you say about sex that you can also say on a as a brand Twitter account? Yeah, I mean, and then all
Hmm.
these other companies started coming out saying like what type of ad, like just coming up with different things that they can say about sex, but they can also say about their company. So it's like Wendy's is coming out talking about like Just weird things. I can't. You gotta. I gotta. I might post the article in the notes so that they can see it. But like, it
Yeah,
was
that'd be
pretty.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like all these different like companies coming out of the woodworks, just trying to retweet back to Netflix like their version of what they say, and
Yeah,
it was engaging. It brought the people in, and more than likely these people are going to remember these companies when it's time to go like spend their money because they were
right.
like, oh yeah, those guys are hilarious. I don't even
So
care.
content marketing, where it's not necessarily paid ads where you're paying to track somebody, but you're putting stuff out there to create what you call like you're taking up like space, creating digital real estate, and that's
Yeah,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
they built engagement. They built
Mhm.
engagement. Like they had because they tweeted back to each other, and then people hopped in on the tweets and started laughing and cracking up and resharing and retweeting and taking screenshots and all of this stuff. And I mean, you basically you did the job because nobody's really taking a picture of a news ad, a 30-second news spot, but they definitely took pictures and retweeted and reshared this. I mean, like and if they didn't like the brand before, when depending on how that tweet went, they like the brand after. I mean, and like that's really just it's generalized, it's traditional marketing, it's just smart thinking. And it's outside of the old ad concept because I mean regulations are coming and they're gonna be locking down everybody.
Yeah.
And companies like Microsoft are just basically getting ahead of the game by just locking things down anyway.
Yeah.
And they know that's their competition. Microsoft is competition to Google, their competition to Facebook. So screw them,
Right. I
basically.
mean, it goes with I see what the maybe they got a little bit of a or I guess a counter from what Gary Vee was talking about as far as the industry goes. He says that when a platform first starts up, it's like the greatest thing, like it's fresh, whatever the case is. But he says that marketers advertisers ruin every platform. That's how it was with email, right? Everybody, we use email at some point in time. Everybody opened emails. Now that
Yeah.
everybody's advertising, like no one really opens emails. Facebook was a new thing. I mean, everybody was on it. And now that you're able to advertise, now it just becomes more of like a Monday, it's kind of like a checklist thing, right? So I think with Microsoft going this route, I don't know. It's interesting to see what comes of this because, from a consumer standpoint, if they're able to access something that blocks them, they're able to browse in peace. I wonder what that would do to corporations that are looking to make money from advertising. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to
Yeah.
see where this goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even companies like Google, the owners of Google didn't originally even want to get into
Yeah.
advertisement. Like when they first started it, like Larry Page and Sergey Brin, like when they first talked about it, they turned down the opportunity to get into advertising back in like 99 or whatever. But then the dot-com bubble burst and they started all losing money. And then when you start losing money, that's when you start running around looking for money ideas.
Right.
And
Well,
sitting right there was the advertisement idea. They were like, they originally didn't want to get into it because they could see what it could potentially do. Because when you know about technology and you're able to do like mathematical calculations on statistics, you can look ahead in the future.
yeah.
So like they were able to see the potential for it and they were like, yeah, we want to try to do another business model because that's too intrusive. But then when that money started sliding, they were like, well, we need to come up with a money game.
We need to consider intruding a little bit.
Yeah, we need to consider our options. I mean, do we want to be broke? Do you like being broke? I think I'd rather be 100 billionaire. I mean, like I'll be all right. I'll take my money and run when it started getting hot, which is
Right.
what they
That's what
basically
that's what
did.
they did.
That's basically what they did. uh,
Classic.
Classic. Yeah, I mean, let's go to this new article. This Slack accuses Microsoft of ripping off its
Here
ads.
we go with ads again.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a little different. There was an ad that Slack did. I actually saw the Slack one. I didn't see that they posted a Microsoft one, but um, basically Slack is the it's a larger issue beyond the ads. So Slack had this ad. It was like a weird balls rolling around, forming like some Slack logo ultimately. But they're just rolling around the ground. It's like CGI and all the stuff. And then Microsoft
Mhm.
apparently a couple months later essentially pushed out their advertisement, which is doing the same thing. Basically, it's like balls rolling around doing something, and it creates this Teams logo or whatever the fuck.
It's
But
called stealing like an artist.
yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody loves Warhol. Yeah, I mean, but like, don't nobody remember Basquiat for real. But I mean, now they do. But like, I mean, untold stories. That's a whole nother issue. But yeah, I mean, like the larger issue is that Slack is really, I mean, they're losing market share because Microsoft has this new Teams platform, and it's eating their lunch. Um, and part of eating their lunch means also trying to go after the same market. Like they're going after the same market, but Slack is kind of like mad about the fact that if you're going to if you're going to go after the same market, you're going to come up with the same similar style of software, and you're going to just hit us all the way around by just creating the same type of ads. Like you might as well just buy us out or some shit.
I
But
mean, I think it's slightly, they of course their company's feeling it with, we did the article before about how Microsoft Teams is pretty much just taking over. They've come in and
yeah,
taken Slack's spot, so it's kind of like,
yep,
Slack is on the, fighting the clawing to get back to where they at, and then like I guess as like a to add insult to injury, Microsoft goes and they don't not cop they model what
yeah.
Slack did, and they kind of like, come on, man,
I mean, Slack started feeling themselves too much, and that's what a lot of these companies like when they go public and get those $1 billion valuations type thing. Like they start feeling themselves, and you got to figure out what they're going to do after they felt themselves. Like in this case, Slack had got all this profit, and they really didn't change themselves from being this one trick pony. Yeah, I mean they improved the pony. Yeah, I mean they put more ring bells and whistles on the pony. I mean, but they didn't diversify what they have skill sets in doing. They didn't
still a
change it up
pony.
at all. I mean, and here comes Microsoft with all these different systems, all these different softwares and services that they offer, and they're like, "Yo, we need something else because we need to make more money. What else can we do? We could eat somebody else small. Like it's the lunchroom concept. You know what I mean? I'm hungry. Let me go eat the smallest dude's lunch. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Get your
I'm
cornbread, man.
yeah, give me a cornbread. What they cocktail fruit? Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, let me get your cocktail. I mean, like, it's this jailhouse rules. I mean, and that's basically what this is. Like Slack, if you don't like step up, I mean, y'all got they pushed this whole concept with chat bots and artificial intelligence, and that was cool, but they never did anything more with it besides put it in the chat
They
system.
never innovated. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they got all this money, but they didn't spread it out in any new investments or anything. And now Microsoft being the larger company, somebody was going to eat at them. It just happens to be that it's Microsoft first.
It
I
happens to
mean,
be the big Titan company, Microsoft.
yeah, 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 exactly.
Oh, I see what they're doing down there.
And
Yeah, let's
like
take a good idea.
because they already bought out Slack. Yeah, I mean, Facebook got the messages system, and they kind of eat their lunch too. So it's not like it's just Microsoft, Facebook eating their lunch, Microsoft eating their lunch, Apple's eating their lunch with iMessages.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like Google is they got Hangouts, and like if you use G Suite and you really use G Suite, then you use Hangouts, and I mean that it does their job, but they actually trying to reinvent something that is similar to
Mhm.
Slack with like a new version of Hangouts. So like they're even making their attempts. Slack isn't trying to do anything besides be great at the one thing that they're great at, and
They're
eventually,
conceding. They're conceding defeat, man. That's what it is. It's one of those things where you're fighting. At this point, they're fighting for respect, but they know the wars. The battle's already lost, man.
yeah,
It's already
exactly.
lost.
And I mean, and even with this tweet that they put out with the advertisement, it's called "Okay Boomer," and it's based on the ad that they put out back in April, and they're just they're playing like kid games, like "Okay Boomer, y'all coming out with this Teams thing, trying to be just like us with the Slack thing," and it's like, yo, you better stop playing because they about like, they will eat y'all, and
It's in the
y'all
threats.
like however many hundred company employees y'all think y'all got, how many thousand, y'all will be spread out amongst all the other companies real soon if y'all don't act right. I mean, Microsoft will just buy out employees, buy out technologies.
That's what
Facebook
it
will
is.
come in and buy in a couple of technologies, and Apple
Oh,
and Microsoft and Google will buy out the rest. And next thing you know, y'all got y'all money, but y'all ain't got no company no more.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they got
Uh, a gentleman's loss where you're not really knocked out. It's not really like they beat into a pulp so much they unconscious. It's like you got beat on the card, son.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. I
it's a
mean,
gentleman's
and
loss.
unless the idea is to back out, I mean, if the idea is to just back out, then do it gloriously. Yeah, I mean, take your money. Yeah, I mean, do your fight, do your dance. Don't go out like a punk. Go out like a champ. Yeah, I mean, and just do your bob and weave. But you know you're gonna go down. You got to know you might go down.
Yeah.
I mean, and just handle it like that. But like I said, doing that one thing that they're doing, the one chat service is a great system, and a lot of people using it, and people are actually paying to use it, which is the weird thing. You know, people don't really pay a lot for software, but
Mhm.
people will stop paying it if they find something better,
For sure.
and
That's how it goes.
they working on their way to finding something better.
It takes a
Um,
lot. It takes a long time. Not a long time. It takes an extended period of time for something to grow on a person, but change can happen instantly.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, definitely. All you gotta do is just take the attempt to try to find something else, and then when you do find something else, all it takes is that one thing to pull you in.
Microsoft, what was it? MySpace was on for a little bit, and then once Facebook was like, we got everybody get public accounts. Where's
Yeah,
MySpace?
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, everybody's still waiting for Tom. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
all Tom is now is a meme. I mean, I ain't gonna say that because he still got hundreds of millions somewhere
Yeah.
chilling. I mean, but for the most part on Facebook, he just a meme. Like we all had this one friend and your name Tom and shit. Everybody know that one picture.
A distant memory, man.
Let's go to this last and final article. We got Microsoft found 44 million accounts being used. Using breached
Mm.
passwords. 44 million accounts using breached passwords.
Now, this is
Um,
news right here.
yeah. This broke what on December 6th. So that was like yesterday, some Friday afternoon, Friday morning. This is pretty major. It's pretty obvious though. Like I pretty much you can assume that this is the case. Everybody knows that this is the case because everybody uses simple passwords, and that's kind of a problem. Like if you're in the industry or if you just know better, you know to use something complex and use something like detailed, but most people don't have the time for that.
Mm.
And because they don't have the time for that 44 million people don't have the time for that at minimum. Yeah, I mean, and because in this case, so Microsoft has, when you sign up with using Windows, you basically create a account, and with Windows 10, as a Windows 10, you can use your online account. So, like, if you had an MSN account, if you had a Outlook.com account, if you had a
Well,
Live, a Hotmail,
they've
um,
had a lot of.
yeah,
They've had a lot. They
yeah.
rebranded a lot of
They
times, man.
rebrand a lot. Yeah, that's the fourth one is Outlook.com. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
but they
goodness.
definitely bought all these different domains. But like if you have one of those accounts, you could synchronize that account to your Windows computer and like use OneDrive and all this stuff where everything syncs into the cloud for Office 365 and all of this stuff for this whole One Life thing that they're pushing out. Um, if you and when you do synchronize that login, they do get a copy of your password. It's an encrypted copy, but they still get a copy of your password in a way. And they were able to bounce stack the copy of your password. They were able to compare it against these public listed databases of already exposed passwords. So because all these other companies, there's a whole bunch of companies that have already been hacked and your password's already been out there. They've took those databases and compared it to all their users, and they were able to see that 44 million of
44
their users are
million
using,
users.
yeah, they're using breach passwords that people have already used before that have been exposed to the public. I mean, so
Wow.
if you already use one of those passwords, ideally your main job should be to go ahead and change that password. Ideally, what I would say, um, what I try to tell my coworkers all the time, I'll send them like staff emails every 2 to 3 months. Check out a site called have I been pwned.com. It's basically have I been
Yeah.
owned.com. Yeah, but it's have I been pwned. I mean, and,
The-
and and the whole point of it is just to see like they have the public records of all the major companies that have had data breaches. So like if it's Adobe, if it's Yahoo, because Yahoo had a major breach a while back, and
Oh yeah.
now Sony had a breach. All these companies have had breaches,
Who do you
and
think is doing these breaches? This is a side note. Like that's what I'm just interested because it's like, I mean,
um,
of course, you get access to people's like day to day information, but it's kind of like, but it's a constantly keep happening. It's like, is it like the same group of people? It makes you think.
nah, it's rarely the same people. Usually there's the one-off cases that is actually somebody that works in the office,
Mm,
that rarely can, like, somebody's doing some type of espionage, like counter business intelligence or whatever.
mm.
But usually it is somebody that just got hacked through some type of social engineering, like, um other countries, I would say other countries, the countries that don't have the same regulations that we have when it comes to hacking and
I can do
cybersecurity,
it. Yeah.
like a lot of Middle Eastern, like Iran, Iran in particular, they don't have a lot of issues when it comes to cybersecurity, like prevention, regulation. Like if somebody gets caught hacking, they probably just cut their fingers off. Um, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's it.
yeah, I mean that's just that's
It
how they
doesn't
do it.
prevent it though. It doesn't
Yeah, I
like
mean, yeah, I mean,
it prevents him or her, but it doesn't prevent like the
yeah,
thing from happening.
because more importantly is that they got to be able to make money, and they out there surviving. And if they can hack somebody and get some information, to get somebody credit card, to get somebody social, to be able to order something to be able to ship over to them in some form of fashion, or be able to ship to somebody else, or be able to like get somebody's Bitcoin account and trade off coins, or any
Oh,
like credit card, like your bank statement that transfer money. If they can get access to any of that stuff, like it's more important than getting my fingers chopped off. You know what I mean? Like if I can make it, if I made it, I made it. I'll save my fingers today. I mean, that's the same way with any criminal entity. Like I mean,
yeah.
like it's not that many
So
criminals
they ain't
that
gonna
are.
get my thumbs today, is you?
I mean, yeah, like it's not that many criminals that's out here that's being criminals just to be criminals. There's some that are. Yeah, I mean, but
Right, right.
most criminals are out here because they trying to survive, and then that's the thing that they learn.
Criminals with intent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like in that scenario, like Ukraine, Russia, they got their own disputes going on. Can't really say who's doing what, but for a fact that Russia doesn't have the same leniency for cybersecurity. Usually, if they find somebody that is dealing in cybersecurity, they usually recruit them and make
Yeah.
them be a part of the organization. And it's not like we're recruiting you, we're going to give you $100,000 job. It's like we're recruiting you, we're going to give you like 20,000, and you have no choice because it's either that or we put you in jail for the
Yeah.
things you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I mean, in some cases, it's probably like that in America too, but it's probably more cordial, more political. Yeah, I mean, like we do a little bit more tech
Yeah.
savvy. We more savvy about it. I mean, when we screw people over, we do it politely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
but like,
we're gentlemen.
yeah, exactly. But like the fact that they actually let this be known is kind of a good thing, because at the end of the day, they really didn't have to say this, because it's not Microsoft getting hacked. It's
Mhm.
the fact that they're letting their users know that they're vulnerable.
Well,
That like
yeah, they're
that
using
they
it. Right. Mm.
yeah, like they used their passwords before in too many locations, and at some point it got exposed. And we know that it's exposed, and we letting y'all know. We're not telling you. I don't know if they actually emailed everybody and let them
You've been
know.
exposed.
Like, yeah, your password's out on the open internet. You should change it. I mean, like they should have probably did that, but like this is more of like a general announcement. Hey, clean up your hacks.
And it makes you think of how passwords will be. So yeah, man. You know, going into, I guess, jumping ahead, man, with this whole like how people are doing security, what they tell us how security is going to be with like biometrics and stuff like that. This makes it more like this
Mhm.
is the natural progression, right? Like we get to a certain point where it's a certain level of security that may have worked, but as technology grows and people with malice intent start to show their head more, like security needs to be increased. And I think in the article, in the article, it actually talks about how um, basically what I get from what they're talking about is that a lot of this stuff is happening because people are lazy. Like they don't use multi-factor authentication, and they said that 99.9% of the identity attacks are thwarted by turning on MFA. By turning
Yeah,
on multi-factor. So it just goes to show, for that 44 mil that was that with they stuff out there, it's 44 mil that just didn't want to put in, their cell phone or some other email for them to get like verified or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and
that
I mean,
once
and it's the double-edged sword of like why,
that,
some people like why I gotta give Microsoft my phone number, and at the same
yeah.
time, it's like you want to be more secure, right? Because it's more than just you that may be trying to get into your account, and it's kind of, I mean, it's a different world, it's a different way of thinking, because like back in the day, you didn't have to have that sense of paranoia that some random person from a whole nother country is going to be able to get into your house. I mean, it was just basically the people in your neighborhood. I mean, it's like can somebody break into my house, but in this case, you have a digital house, you have a digital investment, you have like digital property, and essentially, when it's online, that means it's accessible to anybody in the world if they got the right key.
Yeah,
And
you got the gift,
yeah, and like the key keeps changing. The key has to keep getting updated. It can't be like that simple, like three pivot key that you got that got like three notches in it. You gotta like technically if a key, if your password was a physical key, it'd probably be like this long. I mean, it'd be like long as a foot and it got
Yeah,
like
yeah.
100 notches in
Right.
there. I
Yeah.
mean, like it just gotta be like that's sort of what it has to be nowadays. And yeah, they try to make it simpler with like they try to make the two-factor system where you can have a simple password, but then something else happens also where it's like authorization authentication is what they call it. It's like you have the authority to do something, but then you authenticate yourself as the person that has the authority to do
Just
something.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like a two-part. And they like this one says multi-factor, and they started off with like two-factor, but multi-factor just means like however many
Yeah.
factors of authentication. But I mean, cell phones are advanced with the technology because they got the fingerprint reader, and iPhones have the screen detect. I mean, has the face unlock, but they don't incorporate those in other systems. Like
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Apple decide to come out with a face unlock for yourself for your laptop or for your iMac.
Mm.
Microsoft still hasn't come out with a face unlock for well, they do. They come out with these face unlocks, but they be stupid face unlocks. Like they know the face unlocks don't work. I mean, they know that you can just hold a picture up to it and it'd be like, it's gonna get you. And they be like,
Yeah, that's
anyway,
one
don't
thing
worry
you
about
gotta.
that.
That's one thing you gotta applaud Apple for, man. Like I know we was
Yeah.
okay. At least they kind of got that. I remember when I was setting mine up, I had to twirl my face around a couple of times.
Yeah, you gotta do the whole
Yeah.
head nod, rock your head
I'm a
around.
she says,
Like just hold that thing up, be like, let me in. I mean, you take a
all
Polaroid real quick.
right.
You take one cell phone, hold it up, take a picture, hold it up to the other cell phone, get yourself in, and
Oh,
you're done.
goodness, man.
You steal somebody picture off of Facebook, you in there. Like that they knew that didn't work. So I mean, I don't know why they try to implement those in like these modern computers. They need to really just be putting in these real systems in there. But with that, I mean, it's regulations as well because they got to be able to get the okay in some type of terms of service that says we're going to collect the way your face looks. Yeah, I mean, we're going to collect the data that says what your face looks like, and we're going to store it in a server somewhere. And
Yeah.
then it's like, well, what are you doing with my face? And like, and that's what I mean. That's those be the real regulations that be coming up out of nowhere. Like, well, what are you doing with my face? Can you do anything else with my face? Are you selling my face to like what we were talking about
Oh,
with
snap.
Google with Google and using
Deep fake systems, yeah.
no, like using the what was the like Google's team was protesting because they were using the face detection for
Oh,
like
oh yeah,
ICE
yeah.
for
Right,
like
yeah,
immigration and whatnot and customs. Like if you thought you were legally, you're just freely, all right, say you're a citizen, you're just a regular citizen, you freely just using a computer, and then you use your face unlock, and then that means Microsoft has a copy of what your face looks like in 3D. Now, can the government, can police enforcement come and get a copy of your face in 3D? Because now you're a
mm,
criminal and you're on the run. I mean, like out of
yeah.
nowhere, like
Wow.
or can somebody get a copy of your face just to see what it looks like to say what type of skin well like issues does this person have for like health purposes, like oh he looked like he got blotches on his skin, we should try to sell him some skin ointment. I mean, like, what can you do with your face?
Yeah,
Like that becomes a thing. What can you do with your fingerprint? That becomes a thing. So
yeah,
like
that's real. Yeah.
that's an important factor when it comes to password management, and like we need to get through the regulations so that we can have biometrics in a normal form.
Mm,
And like at that point, we might at that point, they gotta steal your face. Like if
right.
somebody start like if you sleeping and your girl start molding your face, yeah, I mean with like some clay, whatever, trying to get an imprint of what your face look like so they can break into your phone, you know that she probably ain't the one.
Or see, well, this is the thing, bro. It gets a little freaky because I know it's a couple times where I didn't all the way look at my camera and it's still unlocked. It was kind
Yeah,
of
I
like
mean, it's
it was just like this, and it
because
was like,
it's
oh yeah, yeah, he must want to open this.
yeah, because it's three dimensional. You know what I mean? So because they getting a 3D layout of your face. So no matter what geometry is, if they got your cheek and your eye and your inner lining and all that, then that matches up. That's a password. Yeah, I mean that
Wow.
line and the way that is shaped and all that, that's part of the password. And if that matches up, then hey, we letting them in. I mean, and like that's how that shit is for real. But it's a pro and a con to it because yeah, you can just be like, haha, I got in.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, hold it up to their face. I'm in. Now I can do whatever. But
Now I can see all
like
the
that, it's a
shit you
require
took.
like with iPhone, they require you to have your eyes open for the new Pixel 4. There was issue where people were able to unlock the phones without having your eyes
Your
open.
eyes open.
Yeah. So like literally
Come on,
somebody could
man,
just
get
hold
it
it up.
right, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, like if you're gonna do this, do it. Yeah, I mean, don't be don't be making this all simple, making it all defective and shit. You trying to sell it. And that's
They're
the
just
reason. They
doing this
be
to say that you got it, man.
yeah, just to sell it. They just want to say they got it. We number one too.
Oh
I
my
mean, like
god.
it can only be one. But yeah, man, that's just be the issue with it. We're gonna probably see this happening continuously down the line for like at least the next 5 years. I think by 2025 it'd be finalized.
They'll have it set like, okay, this is what the okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be finalized by then because they'll add all the regulations in place. Once they say the okay, they probably building the software now so that it does it. They just not releasing it yet until the regulations are in place. I mean, once the regulations are in place, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, they coming out with this, they coming out with that, they coming out with this, and all for security's sake. But they gotta have those regulations in place.
For sure.
All right, so I think that's the basic wrap up, man. That's I think that's it for the Microsoft recap.
Yeah, you did pretty good chopping that up, man.
Yeah, man. If y'all like the show, y'all need to go ahead and do the damn thing. It's the like button down below. It's the share button down below. It's the comments and subscribe if you see the feed on there. If you're listening to us on any of your podcasts or if you're watching the videos, we're posting videos, but I haven't really checked the stats on any videos yet. But if you're watching the video, go ahead and subscribe to the videos as well. Um, appreciate you listening. Appreciate your service, and we shall get back to you very soon.
Very, very soon.
Adios, amigos.
All right, you guys take care, man. Got more coming your way.